What is up guys, it is Lily and today we are going to have a look at the FIFA 20 demo gameplay and see is it better than PES 20. So first of all we'll have a look at an area which has a huge impact on the pitch, and this is where PES used to be king many years ago, and that is the ability to get your team to play exactly how you want them to play by telling each player how you want them to play, whether you want them to stay back, cut inside when they go forward, cover other players, stuff like that. For some weird reason Konami used to have this and they scrapped it, and the worst part about scrapping that is EA not only saw them scrap it, they ended up stealing it from them. And Konami have this way where you can tell your defensive mid to stay back or your striker to stay forward, stuff like that, but that's very limiting because you can't do that for every single player all over the pitch. So let's move on to the action on the pitch. So let's start off with an area which I know a lot of people in the FIFA community are not really happy with, and that is the pace of the game. Now I'm not saying it's perfect, but I prefer it to FIFA 19 or FIFA 18 where the game was being played at basketball speed, where it's just end to end and it just didn't feel like you could even actually sort of cut out the ping pong passing because it is being played at such a pace. Now if someone does try the ping pong passing, I'm not saying you're going to be able to defend against it at a much easier rate, but you can see the game unfold a bit slower and it allows you to be able to defend against that style of play that bit easier. I feel it will get sped up in the full game, and I think Ultimate Team will naturally speed this up as well. So as long as it doesn't get sped up too much, I will be happy with the pace of the game. So moving into an area which has been a major strength of FIFA's over the last few years, and it's still a major strength in FIFA 20, is the fluidity of the game. So when I'm talking fluidity, I'm not talking about the passing animations, kicking or goalkeeping, tackling, not a specific set of animations. I'm talking about the way players react to a loose ball, or the way players react to a pass that's slightly astray. The reason I mention this, and to FIFA players it may not be worth mentioning, is that when you compare it to PES 20, the full game, and actually I'll even mention the demo as well, when you talk about the full game in PES, there are so many times you play a pass to your player and it's pretty much straight at him and they won't respond, or it may be slightly astray and they just walk a few steps further ahead and just react as if a ball hasn't even come their way. That is just criminal in PES, and in the demo it wasn't like that. In the demo it's a rare occasion, so you didn't think it'd be much of an issue in the full game, but because it happens way too often in the full game, it's become an issue and it's actually actively killing the fluidity of the game. And that's why for me it doesn't happen in FIFA, so I think that's why FIFA for me is the more fluid game. So moving into another area which is a strength in FIFA, and I wouldn't really say it was an issue in the PES 20 demo, but in the full game it's definitely an issue. It's the AI. So I'll give you an example. Say I'm on an attack and I'm using my centre mid and I'm just driving forward with the ball, and my opponent has dragged the left back out of position and the right winger's now got acres of space to run into, and he's got, you know, a useful position in the box to run into. In FIFA I will see them make, I wouldn't say the smartest runs, but they will try to make a dangerous run. I don't see them running like diagonally, but I normally see straight runs. In PES, you know, in the demo I used to see them make smarter runs and they would run into like diagonal runs and, you know, kind of utilize the space given. But in the full game, somehow the players not only not make smart runs, but they actually just stand idly by waiting for you to manually trigger their runs. When PES plays like it's supposed to play, then hands down for me it has the better AI. It is the smarter of the two when it comes to AI. But which game do you say has better AI? One that is FIFA 20, it's got working AI like it intends to and it does what you expect it to when you expect it to. Or would you say it's PES that the AI is hit and miss? Sometimes it's moving for you, sometimes it's not, but when it does, it's smarter. So I don't know. For me, I'm going to go with, like I said, when PES plays like it's intended, it has the better AI, so I'm going to go for AI is better in PES, but it's less frustrating in FIFA. And I'm not saying that AI is bad in FIFA, I'm just saying that it's not as smart as PES. So if you're looking for a consistent game, then probably FIFA is the one, but if you're looking for one that pushes the boundaries, then I would say PES is the one. Now moving on to what I feel has always held this FIFA series back, and that's the passing in this game. It's always been way too easy and it feels laser guided at times, so it doesn't feel like there's a real skill gap. Well, this year I still feel passing is a tad too easy. I'm not saying it has to be difficult, but maybe not as easy as FIFA 20 have made it. It's definitely a step up on FIFA 19. Like, as you can see here, although the ball for me doesn't feel like it has a great amount of weight behind it, it doesn't feel laser guided. Like, the ball feels like it doesn't have one trajectory all the time. Like, you can notice it bobbling about here and there. Not every pass is nice and crisp. So yes, it's a step in the right direction, but I just don't feel that it has the same sort of like weight of pass behind it as you do when you play PES. PES makes you have to think twice when you play your passes. FIFA, not so much. I'm not saying you can play blind passes in FIFA, because after a bit you still kind of have to have a little thought process behind it. But when you're comparing it to PES, I think in PES pretty much every pass has to be taken care of, where in FIFA it doesn't feel the same story. There is progression in the passing from FIFA 19, but it just doesn't have the same satisfying and even skill gap feeling that PES 20 has. Although if you do play PES 20 on pass support level 3, then I will say you have a very identical feeling to what I'm feeling right now about the passing in FIFA 20. So now it's time to move on to the shooting, and like I spoke about earlier about the lack of weight behind the ball in the passing, in turn the shooting has the same sort of feeling. I'm not saying the shooting is bad, it just doesn't have that same sort of satisfying feeling. Like when you hit a ball hard in PES, it feels like you've just put your lace through it, and when it hits the back of the net you think, what a thunder bastard, like you've just absolutely ripped the net apart at times. But in FIFA, when you hit a ball hard, it just feels like the ball's moving fast. It doesn't feel like you've actually hit it hard. The best way to say it is, when you hit a ball hard in PES, you think if that was me in real life, that ball would be hurting my foot as I hit it. But in FIFA, it just feels nice and soft and too much of a cushion behind it. So, you know, you hit the ball in FIFA, your foot feels fine. You hit it in PES at times and you're thinking, wow, I'm going to have a bruise there in the morning. What I do like about the shooting in FIFA 20 is the variety and the control you have in your shooting as opposed to PES 20. So, in PES 20, you have the lob shot, the finesse shot, the normal shot and the knuckle shot. Where in FIFA, you have all of them. I'm not sure about the knuckle shot in FIFA, but you also have the timed finishing, which is if you click shoot just before you strike the ball, you get a crisper strike. And you also have the drill shot, which you can put as much power in as you want and it'll keep the shot low. Doesn't mean it'll be accurate, it'll just be a low driven shot. And yes, that is me being very lackadaisical at the back, giving Giroud a goal. And look at this, just look at this from Giroud, running out with his arms open towards, I want to call him Fat Frank, but I have a bit too much respect, I'll call him Frank. I'm not going to call him Super Frank, I'm not a Chelsea fan, but I'll call him Frank. And yes, he says, you can have your hug, get on with the match, because I'm still going to put Tammy Abraham in the next match. So although there is more variety in shooting in FIFA than there is PES, I'm still going to give the edge to PES just because it feels better when you strike the ball. So now it's time to move on to the dribbling, and perfectly timed section to move on to. For me, both games are brilliant at dribbling in their own way. So PES, it has a more realistic feeling with the left analog stick. It feels a bit heavier and player like sort of inertia, shall we say, so moving from one direction to the other. It feels a bit more realistic. But for me, FIFA isn't as bad as what PES fans say. A lot of PES fans say that it feels like the FIFA players are dribbling on ice or skating around. It doesn't feel like that for me. It does feel like there's a bit of weight that you have to manage around. Not as much as PES, but the reason I say PES isn't as good as FIFA in dribbling is because of the right analog stick, the trick system. The tricks in FIFA don't just look super fluid and look pretty on the eye. They are super effective, and for that alone, it has the edge on PES. Like, the trick system alone is what sets it apart, and I'm just going to have to give this one to FIFA in that department in terms of dribbling, although both games are great at what they do. Now, in terms of goalkeeping, for both games, I'd say FIFA did have major issues with the fact that the time finishing was so OP, but in terms of general goalkeeping, I don't have many issues with that. And I made a big mistake, which I wouldn't have sort of realised was until after I was editing, is I forgot to actually take team pressing off. So you saw that poor touch from Mohamed Salah. Well, what I would like to say, both games this year seem to have a stamina, or shall we say importance on stamina. So if you're playing with tired players in the previous PES, well, actually in the previous PES, playing with tired players was a bit of a hindrance. In the previous FIFA, I didn't really feel it was a hindrance. As you can see there, Mane and Salah really gassed out, so you can see them getting caught up. Although I do feel Mane should have stayed ahead of Jorginho of all players. I don't care how fresh Jorginho is, I feel like someone like Mane should probably stay ahead of him 9 times out of 10 there. But maybe that's a bit of nitpicking there. So I thought the goalkeeping in both games not too much to be bothered about. And stamina, again, I think both games have taken a bit of a stride forward there. So to draw an end to the gameplay comparisons, this is purely gameplay comparisons. I'm just gonna say that PES, when it's playing like it's supposed to, is the better game. FIFA is the more consistent game, you know what you're gonna get with it, but when both games are giving everything they've got, PES is the better game. But here's the problem, lads, here's the problem. PES doesn't give everything it's got enough. It doesn't do it on a consistent basis enough. It has, I was about to say, slight tendencies to sort of mess up the experience, but them slight tendencies since full release date have gone up a rate of knots. It's coming like a wrecking ball. The game is having so many problems that it's destroying itself. FIFA isn't becoming the better game. PES is letting itself down. So for me, I've already said I think PES is the better in terms of gameplay, but I can see why people are going to probably be more settled with FIFA just because it's the more consistent game. So yeah guys, let me know what you think of, you know, the FIFA demo. If you've played the PES demo, let me know what you think of the two games, or even whatever experience you have with both games so far. Let me know in the comment section. If you think I'm wrong, or you know, you got any points, again, put them in the comment section. But yeah guys, I hope you did enjoy this video. If you did, remember to give it a thumbs up. If you want to see more, remember to subscribe. Until next time guys, peace.